Welcome back to another video, and today we're gonna photo edit a model. I have this photo, it's a raw photo, and you can see here the original one is pretty dark, and we're gonna make it look like this. So we're gonna do all the necessary steps, from brushing the skin and doing color changes, doing lighting changes, and all the other good stuff. So stick around until the end so you can check the whole video out and you can apply all these kind of tricks to your own photo. Alright, let's get into Photoshop. This photo is a RAW file, so when I drag this photo here, it will open up Camera Raw, and here we can do slight adjustments to this photo directly after importing this into Photoshop. So first of all, you can see this photo is pretty dark, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to slightly increase the exposure here. I'm going to drop the contrast a bit here, and let's just also drop the highlights slightly so we still can see the details. And the shadows, I'm also gonna make lighter a lot. And this will be enough for now. The other stuff we will change later. And now let's open up this photo. So you can see we already did some basic adjustments. Now, the first thing what I would like to do here is I would like to adjust the colors a bit. So I'm gonna add a color balance to this. And I'm gonna add some red to this photo to make this a bit warmer. And slightly some blue, just like that, maybe even more. Let's say something like this, and you can see it got a bit warmer. Now, the next step, what I would like to do is I would like to add a curves here so I can change the lighting. And I'm gonna look at the midtones here, and I'm gonna make a point here, and I'm gonna drag it up. And you can see how light I can make this photo now. And this already is the basic adjustments to get the lighting a bit better. Now that's it for this one. Now let's move on to hue and saturation. So I'm gonna add a hue and saturation here. And I'm gonna drop the color slightly, just like that. And I'm also gonna take this one and I'm gonna click here because I feel like those greens are a bit too much. I'm gonna drop those greens just like that. And I can see we already did a lot of changes in a couple of seconds. The next thing I would like to do is I would like to add a color lookup here. And here I'm gonna select tree strip. And now you can see we get beautiful colors again. But I'm gonna drop the opacity here, like that. And the next step I will do here is to add a gradient. And for the gradient, I'm gonna sample a color. And I wanna sample this color here. And I'm making it dark, like that. Press OK. And I'm gonna copy this color and put it there, just like that. And now let's change the scale a bit. And make sure to use radial and put it in reverse. And I'm gonna make sure this is in the center, just a bit bigger. And when I press OK, I'm gonna change this to overlay and I'm gonna drop the opacity. All right, so this is for now enough. And now we can work on the model itself and the background separately. So what we do here is we want to make sure the model is kind of coming from the background to the foreground. So we want to separate her a bit from the background. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna create a new exposure layer here. And I don't want to change everything. I just want to select the background. So I'm going to go to select, subject, and now it's going to select her. And I'm going to select, so I'm going to use the rectangle marquee tool here, press right mouse and select inverse. And now I'm going to press Ctrl I. You can see here, we have the selection of her now. Now let's make sure it's the background and not her. So I'm going to press Ctrl I without the selection, like that, so we can infer this. And now if we change this one, you can see here I can change the background. Now we want to make sure it's a bit softer, so I'm going to click on the mask and I'm going to increase the feather slightly here, just to make sure it's a bit softer on the edge. And now when I use this one, I can drop this. So I'm going to slightly drop this lower, just a little bit like that. Now I'm going to add a hue and saturation again. And now I'm going to drop the saturation. But I'm gonna copy this mask. So if I hold down Alt or Option and drag it there, I can copy the mask to that one. And now if I change this one, it's only affecting the background, as you can see here. So I wanna get rid of some of the colors in the background. Let's now add a vibrance layer. So let's go to vibrance. And I'm gonna hold down Alt or Option and I'm gonna drag it here again. Okay. And this time I'm gonna edit her and not the background. So I'm gonna press on the mask and press Ctrl I to invert this. And now if I use this mask, I can increase the color like that. So let's make sure we give her a bit more color like that. And that way we can really make sure she is kind of separated from the background. I think this looks really nice. All right, now let's move on. I'm gonna add another curves here. And I'm also gonna copy this one. So if I hold down Option or Alt and drag it there, I can copy these settings, this mask setting then. And let's use this curve, and I'm gonna give her a little S shape, just a slight S shape like that, just to make sure she's even lighter. Maybe slightly less like that. Now, when we put everything in a folder, we can compare. So we had this, now we have this. You can already see we made a lot of improvement to the photo. The next step that I would like to do is I would like to create a new layer and press Command Alt Shift E. So you can create a separate layer from all the layers that we just created. And this time I'm gonna go to Filter and select Neural Filters. And in Neural Filters, we have a pretty cool blur called Depth Blur. It isn't perfect, but it works pretty good. So try this one out on your photo, and you can see here it already blurred out the background. I'm gonna drop the blur strength a bit, so I wanna make sure it still looks natural. Maybe just a little blur like that, just to make sure the background is slightly blurred out. And when you press OK, you can see it has a little bit of a flaws. So to fix this, we can simply go here. Let's see, where is it? The blur tool. And we can just use the blur tool to fix those little mistakes Photoshop made. So if you want to do this perfectly, you can go around the edge of the whole photo like that and fix all those little parts. Obviously, I'm not gonna do that now, but when you're working on your own photo, just make sure you fix all those little parts like there, and everything around there. And the next step, what I would like to do is I would like to make the image a bit softer. So I'm gonna make a new layer, and I'm gonna press Command Option Shift E or Control Alt Shift E to make this separate layer again. And then I'm gonna go to Filter, Blur, and select Gaussian Blur. And I'm gonna simply apply a little bit of blur to this, just like that. And then I'm gonna change the blend mode. So for the blend mode, I'm gonna select linear dodge like that, and I'm gonna drop it really low. So we have a little bit of this kind of glowing effect, not much. And you can see here the difference. It also made the image lighter. And now we have just the basic adjustments. And now we can do another color balance on top of everything. And here I will just balance the colors a bit better. I will add a little bit more red to this. Maybe slightly some magenta to get rid of those greens. And let's also add some yellow to this, just like that. All right, let's now create a new layer and do Command Option Shift E or Control Alt Shift E again, and press right mouse and convert to Smart Object. And now I'm gonna go to Filter, Camera Raw Filter. And here we can do some adjustments again. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop the contrast here a bit. I wanna have this a bit softer. Gonna drop the highlights also. And let's play with the blacks. Maybe we can increase those a bit. And increase the whites a bit so it doesn't get too dark. And maybe drop the blacks. Now let's move down to texture. I'm gonna drop the texture here to create this soft effect. And add a bit of a clarity. Now I'm gonna move all the way down. And here in highlights, I wanna play with the lighting a bit. So let's increase this one. And the lights also a bit. And I'm gonna slightly make the darks a bit darker to get nice contrast. This one I'm gonna slightly increase. And that's it for this. And press OK. And I can see it looks a lot better already. Now, if you want to work on the skin of her, we can create a new layer and press Ctrl Alt Shift E again, or Command Option Shift E. And then we can go to Filter and select Noise, Reduce Noise. And here I'm gonna just keep the strength at 10 and keep those at 0. Press OK. You can see it got real soft. Now, obviously, you don't want to apply this to the whole photo, just the skin. So we're gonna make a mask here and press Command I or Control I to invert this. And then you can just take a brush, just a white brush. Make sure to select the soft round general brush and you can start brushing the skin. And this is something you have to do carefully because you don't want to brush parts like her eyebrows and stuff like that. You want to make sure those stay as the original one so you can still see the details. So when you zoom in, just simply brush those areas nicely and you can see here the skin gets really soft. Don't overdo this. You can always use the opacity here to kind of drop this effect a bit, because when you overdo this, she's just gonna look like a plastic doll, and you want to make sure it still looks natural without noticing all the changes in Photoshop. So let's do a bit more here. Just gonna do this quickly around the face, like there. And let's make the brush bigger, like there. And you can see we get this soft face. When you get to the neck, you can drop the opacity here, let's say to 50%, and just brush a little bit there. And then drop it even lower to brush a bit there. So you don't see a difference between the neck and the face. It's just kind of fading away. And this is already enough. And you can drop the opacity to blend this a bit better. All right, so this is pretty much done. The only thing I would like to do here is I'm gonna add another brightness and contrast here. And I'm gonna make sure to select subject because I wanna apply this to the background. And now press right mouse, select inverse, and press Command I or Control I, Control I again. So we select the background. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm just slightly gonna drop the brightness of the background here. And these little things you have to brush a bit better. So if you want to do this perfectly, just brush this away like that, just to make sure it doesn't look weird. All right, so I'm gonna go back to the brightness here. I'm gonna make this slightly darker. And I'm gonna drop the contrast here of the background, just like that. Now at the end of your edit, you can create a new layer and press Command-Alt-Shift-E or Control-Alt-Shift-E and press right mouse, convert to smart object, and then go to filter, camera raw filter. And here you can play a bit with the colors. So the colors are fun to play with. When you're finished with everything, you can just have some fun with the colors to create a different mood. So when we go down here to color mixer, at the hue, we can change it a bit. So let's, for instance, increase the reds here. And let's drop the greens here. And you can see here, it looks a bit better now. And let's now go to saturation. And I think the orange is a bit too much, so I'm gonna drop this here. And you can see we get this really kind of natural feeling to the photo. Let's try out one of these ranges, which fits best. Let's say something like this is fine. There's one more trick that I'd like to show. And when you look at the photo, you can see here, Photoshop made a mistake with the blur in the background. So if you have the latest version of Photoshop, you can just simply select those areas and just use generative fill here without putting a prompt. Just generate this and it's gonna fix those flaws. Obviously, it's a lot of work when you get a lot of mistakes in your photo, but this is a workaround to kind of fix those little flaws. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching the tutorial. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out my other videos. And until then, catch you in the next video.